as excited as he's gonna get. That's his big runaround. He's a very old dog. He's a sort of a grandpa of a dog. When I got him 4 years ago, they said he was 10 to 12 years old, best guess. They didn't really know how old he actually was. Well, I've had him 4 years now. So if he was 10 to 12 4 years ago, he'd be 14 to 16. And that's really old. So the vet has sort of decided that maybe he wasn't as old as we thought. How about we turn him? How about if you look there? There we go. He probably wasn't that old. Maybe he was only 7 or 8, which would make him still 10 to 12 years old. So he is a standard poodle. Most people only see the littler poodles, the miniatures, which are kind of like Cocker Spaniel size, or the little teacup ones, which are the type you put in a purse. But he's what they consider a standard. So he's a nice big dog. He weighs about 52, 53 pounds. So he's not gigantic, but he's a big dog. Or this is just kind of his personality. He's very calm and very laid back. He likes everybody. He's always very friendly to people, but he is not going to be the dog that comes along and says, "Oh, love me, love me, love me, pet me, pet me, pet me, I want to crawl into your lap," you know. He's just not that type of dog. He is considered a party poodle, and not party like birthday party, party because he's part gray and part white. And that's not what poodles are supposed to look like. Poodles are supposed to be a solid color. Black, white, gray, apricot. They can be a variety of colors, but they shouldn't be mixed like this. So this is kind of considered a no-no in the poodle world. If I took him to a dog show, they'd say, you can't have him in because he's a party. Now, can he do agility things? Can he do obedience things? Oh yeah, but as a poodle, that's not the look you're supposed to have. But it's a very different look, and it makes him look, I think it makes him look very handsome. Did you have some questions you want to ask? Why don't I go right around? Did you have something?
And just don't say your names, guys, because this is, we're recording this to put on the wiki, so don't say your name, okay?
So I think you were next.
How does he help you?
He isn't a seeing eye dog.
Oh.
He is not an assistant dog. An assistant dog takes way more training than he has. He's learned basic obedience and commands, but he doesn't physically help someone like a seeing eye dog does. He isn't a hearing ear dog. Hearing ear dogs, people that are deaf, that can't hear their telephone, can't hear their phone ring, whatever, they come and run and alert them some way to tell them there's somebody at the door, the phone is ringing. People in wheelchairs that need help. He's not an assistant dog. Could he do that? Well, maybe, but that takes a whole nother level of training. He's a therapy dog, which means he helps people feel good. He can visit hospitals, nursing homes, schools, libraries, any place really that would like to welcome him in, but he's not allowed to go on a bus or a train. He's not allowed to walk into a grocery store. There are places that he's not allowed where an assistant dog is permitted to go in. I stopped at Wawa, he can't go to the Wawa. He has to wait. He did have to do training, but his training was basic obedience. He can down, that's down. He can sit, he can stay. He obviously should walk politely beside me. He should know how to meet people without getting crazy and jumping on them and, you know. He should meet someone with another dog the same way. He should be able to walk through a crowd of people and not get upset. One of the hardest things that they do is they're with the owner when they go to take their test. The people at the testing facility take them away. They go into the next room. They go out in the hall, but they go somewhere where the owner and the dog no longer see each other. And you wait for about 3 or 4 minutes And the dog should not get crazed. Not, I mean, can they kind of go, you know, whimper a little? Can they kind of look around? Yeah. But if they're like, where are they? And they're pulling at the leash and they're, where'd she get? But that's not good. They don't pass the test. They have to stay calm. The first thing they have to do is pass CGC, Canine Good Citizenship. And that's something any dog can do. It can be any breed, any type. It just means your dog knows good manners. And that's a good thing to have anybody do. Once they pass that, then you go on to the therapy test. And all those things that I talked about are longer and harder. Instead of waiting 3 minutes away from me, he waited 6 minutes away. Instead of being, okay, sit where you are, and I'll walk over here and you have to stay. Now I walk out in the parking lot somewhere and they have to stay. So I'll go along to the next person. I think you had a question too.
How long has he been with therapy?
Well, it took us about, I've had him 4 years. It took us 2.5 years to get through all the testing. Because he really, it wasn't that he wasn't smart enough, he just quite didn't get it. Because he had never been someone's pet before. He didn't know anything about living in a house, living with people. Just that whole bit was kind of confusing to him. So it took us 2.5 years. And part of the time, we didn't practice all the time. I have a summer job at the seashore, at the Jersey Shore, so every summer we would take off and go there for 3 months. Then we'd come back and I'd sign up for a class again and we'd practice again. And then the test would come and he wasn't quite ready. And then we'd take another class and then finally we got ready to pass the test. So we've been doing therapy, we've actually been going to schools and libraries and places like that for about a year now. I'll go right along. May I ask?
What breeds are used for therapy dogs?
Any breed at all. A therapy dog can be any breed. And some people like the little dogs because a little dog can sit on somebody's lap. A little dog can actually be put on a hospital bed with somebody that can't get up or sit in the chair. So any dog can be a therapy dog if they can pass a test. And sometimes that's just practice, passing the test. You have to be at least a year old. You can't do a puppy. And next? Okay, next please.
Was he rescued?
He was a rescue dog. I was a school librarian, and when I was teaching school, I didn't have time for a dog. I thought, I left to go to school every day at 6:30 in the morning, and you come home until close to 6:30 at night. And that's a long time for a dog to be in your house all by himself. And I just didn't think that was fair. So although I had cats as my pet, I didn't have a dog. And when I retired from teaching, I thought, I'm going to get a dog, and I think I want to go to schools and read with kids. Didn't want to go to nursing homes, didn't want to go to hospitals, but I did want to go and read with kids. And I knew that the therapy dog program has a part that's called tail wagging tutors. And you take your dog and you go to a school or a library and you let kids read to the dog. So I looked around, I knew I wanted a standard poodle, and they were hard to find. There's lots of nice dogs to rescue out there, but I wanted a poodle, a real poodle. Not a labradoodle, not a golden doodle, there's lots of things that are mixed with poodles, but I wanted a poodle, and he was difficult. It took over 2 years to find a poodle, without going miles away. I mean, there's poodles in Oklahoma, there's poodles in Georgia, but I wasn't going to go there to find, to get my dog. So he wound up in Quakertown, and I called him, and I went up to see him, and we walked around for about an hour or so, and I thought, you know what, I think this is the dog for me, and we put him in the car, and I took him home. Now I'll keep going around the circle.
What was like the average training time?
Usually, a typical class lasts 6 to 8 weeks. Most people go from level 1 to level 2, and then from level 2, you usually graduate to do the CDC. And then you can go on and train for lots of other things, but that's kind of basic obedience. So most people can get it done in half a year if the classes are back to back, pretty much.
What are some of the popular therapy dogs?
Everybody likes poodle combinations, it seems. Mostly because poodles are smart dogs. And poodles are also considered hypoallergenic because he doesn't have fur. He has hair, just like our hair. And so the dander and the stuff in fur that makes people allergic to cats and dogs, he doesn't have that. So as a result, it makes it easier for him to go anywhere. And I know that somebody here is not going to be sneezing and their eyes are watering and the whole bit.
My dog is,
I want to take a seat.
he's a European poodle.
Right, a poodle, right? Because the poodle part is the hair part that gets. Now, usually, if you have a dog that has a very, very smooth skin, like a boxer, like a dachshund, a Dalmatian, those are less irritating to people who have allergies, but not completely.
I have allergies.
Right, so
animals, cats and dogs.
Dogs kind of get to you, right?
I actually used to own a cat, and
Yeah.
I had to take a lot of allergy
Pills.
medicine. But it was worth it because she was really cute.
Well, you do. I mean, you love your pets, and sometimes people can get by and they just kind of suck it up and deal with it, or take their pills or shot and whatever. Yeah.
She was 21.
Oh, wow.
When she died.
What kind of, does he do kids therapy and adult
He
therapy?
can do any therapy you want. Okay. Now, right now, there are some dogs that, with the tornadoes that happened out in the Midwest, where homes and everything were destroyed, some people are out there now doing, in order to do disaster therapy, your dog has to go through more training. Because you have to know that they're gonna be okay with sirens and flashing lights, and now is he okay with all that? Oh, yeah, he doesn't care. But that is another level of training. And the therapy organization sends out pictures showing what the dogs are doing out there. And basically, it's just, they're not rescuing people, they're not finding people under debris, they're just going there and people are like, oh, my home is ruined, you know, I don't know where I'm gonna live, my clothes are gone, but let me hug a dog, and that makes me feel better, you know, and it does. Do you have a question?
Do you like go across the country or just stay on?
No, I just stay right around here. Unfortunately, most dogs love to travel in cars. He doesn't. It's not that he doesn't like it, he just gets kind of car sick. He doesn't throw up, thank goodness, but he just gets kind of, do you know how some people get kind of queasy if they sit in the back part of the bus? That's kind of how he is all the time. So, we have to travel, we have to go places, but he isn't real keen about it.
How old does the dog have to be a therapist?
You have to be at least 1 year old.
Okay.
You can take them to training classes before that. And puppies many times go to puppy classes, but you have to be at least 1 year old to be considered to be a therapist dog. Should I come down the rest of the road here? I think you asked your question.
Yeah, questions about
Is he, like, did he ever go to a hospital?
He went to the nursing home where my parents used to be, but I've never taken him to a hospital, just because I don't like hospitals. I don't want that whole, that doesn't excite me one bit. So my thought is, I'm gonna do the things that I like, and he can do that too.
I have a specific place where my grandpa is retirement home.
Right, okay.
It's in Pottstown. Do you guys ever go there?
Well, we go to where people have asked us to visit. Pottstown would be longer, but I try to stay about an hour away. That's about as long of a car ride as he handles well, better. So I don't go too far, but, and there may be dogs that go to that place. You'll have to ask your grandma.
Did you, what made you want to become a dog?
I wanted to go read with kids. I thought that would be a fun thing to do. And I also, I think it's fun to just do things with your dog. And he isn't going to be an agility dog. Where you see the dogs run through the tunnels and up over the little bridges and jump through the hoops. That's not him. He does obedience, but he's not good enough. Well, he's not, obedience dogs have to be fierce. When you go sit, they sit. He's a grandpa dog. Have you ever seen old people get up and down? That's how he gets up and down. So I knew I wasn't going to do that. He's not, some dogs do nose work. They like to find things by smelling it. He doesn't seem too interested in that. My thought was he's calm, he's settled, we can read with kids. So that's what we do. Did you have a question?
How many different types of training do you think there is?
Oh, there's agility, there's obedience, there's what they call rally, which is a little bit of combination of obedience and agility together. Like you run to a spot and your dog has to do a certain skill. Then you run to the next spot and your dog has to do a skill. There's fly ball, where they bounce the ball out and the dog runs down and gets it and comes back. There's nose work. There's lots of different categories of stuff you can do. But he does this.
And before the kids came in from recess, you were saying that he has cataracts?
He does. He has cataracts in both eyes, so he doesn't really see real well. But as the vet said, he's not going to drive. He's not going to read. He sees what he sees. Now, if I walked across the room, he'd still know I was there. But if I went out into your playground and there were lots of other people there and you walked into the edge of the playground, he might not be able to find me right away. He wouldn't just see me versus everybody else.
And how is his hearing?
Well, it's like husbands and kids, selective.
But he can hear.
Oh,
He
yeah,
just
he
selects
can
what he
hear.
wants to hear,
Right,
okay?
Right. I mean, like when your mom calls you and you know she's mad, sometimes you really hear her and sometimes you kind of, maybe, that's kind of his roots, But no, I mean, he may not hear perfectly. He's an old dog. So when people get older, some of these kind of just change a little bit. Older people have hearing aids. Well, he doesn't have that, but he does have a playgroup. He loves to go to playgroup. He likes those other dogs. He's always friendly to other dogs, but at playgroup, one of the things the other dogs love to do is chase the ball. And the woman who runs the playgroup has tennis balls and a tennis racket because she has a huge yard that's fenced, and she'll hit the tennis ball and the dogs will go running to get the tennis ball. And they're like, oh no, what tennis ball, tennis ball, tennis. He runs, but he's just running because they're running, not because he's getting the tennis ball. He doesn't know that trick. He just doesn't.
Anybody else have any questions before I turn off the video? And then, of course, we can pet while
Oh,
we're on.
yeah,
And
gotcha.
anybody else have any questions?
So he doesn't, what if he was eating and someone came up to him and he
No. Nope. Nope, he can take his dish away, there's no problem.
Good question.
How long is longer than a therapy dog?
Probably a little over a year. Now, when I first got him, the very first time I got him home, they sent me home and they had checked his teeth and they had pulled a tooth and he had been intact. He was able to make more babies, and when they send you to any type of shelter now, make sure that your dog can't have babies anymore or not. So they gave me medication so that you know, like penicillin or something that I had to give for the first couple days. And I get home and I realize I've got this tiny little pill and I have to make sure he eats it. And they said, oh, we'll mix it with his food. But I did, and he obviously wasn't interested in the food. And I thought, I've got to get this pill down this dog. Now, I've only known him about 2 hours. And I think, what's he gonna do when I go to put this pill down his throat? You know, he's got some pretty big teeth. I didn't know. But surprisingly enough, this is the other thing that therapy dogs have to learn how to do. They shouldn't have to have a treat while they're being therapy dog. But he will do a treat here today. He takes treats. Come on. This is what I call it here. Come on, let's go, Bunker, come on. There we go, okay. All right. Sit. Oh, he also had to learn how to do hand signals. So he should know sit from me going like this versus because you want your dog to know how to respond to commands even if he can't always hear you. Okay. When he takes it, here I've got this little pill in my hand, I think, oh shoot, how am I going to give this dog a treat? Bunker, Bunker, come on. Come on, up. See, he's not a treat dog. Ah, there he is. See how gently he takes that? And we did that with, I opened his mouth and put the pill down his throat, and I was a little like, I don't know about this, you know, but he was just as calm as, he's just a very calm, laid back dog.
With my dog, when he eats, you can hear him chew.
Like he's a,
Yes.
yeah. Well,